anybody that's a partner that has been betrayed knows the intensity of the pain that comes with it and the urgency that comes with trying to, or the desire to, because they
It's
also
not
have
becoming their jailer.
right.
It's not becoming their mom, their dad. The point of this is not to distinguish someone bad from good, right? The point of this is I have just experienced something.
How can I help you?
Exactly.
What can I do to help with your healing?
Right.
I am here for you to lean on me,
That's
but
right.
I am not going to lean on you.
You say that all the time to clients.
I do, all the
I
time.
quote you when I say it.
Yeah.
Josh always says.
Yeah, and it's important for them to remember because welcome to Therapist Take. We're going to talk about the power of the one down position when it comes to betrayal, trauma, couple recovery. So don't go anywhere. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Josh.
How are you today?
I'm all right.
We need to show up like 10 minutes earlier, but in our minds, like pretend we're starting 10 minutes earlier.
Okay.
Because we always end up starting 10 minutes.
Well, we always have to make adjustments we don't plan on.
I know. The cameras are never in the same spot every episode.
Bonkers.
Or the lights.
Yeah, which is kind of bonkers.
Right. So we're still trying to figure out our setup, really.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the one down position when it comes to betrayal, trauma, couple recovery. But before we get into that, let's go over the housekeeping things real quickly. And I also want to bring up our workbook that we've done, which I've included a graphic in, which I'll let Hannah search for it while I do the I forgot to inform her about that. Okay. But as we do the housekeeping, she can look for that graphic. So just want to remind everybody to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button as well to just help please those algorithms. But also, if you're listening to this on the podcast version, to please just stop what you're doing for a second and give us a 5-star review, and then head back over to listen to us. So we really appreciate that. So we're going to start out, we're going to just talk about what is the one down position. We're going to define it so people know exactly what we're talking about here. And then we're going to move into talking about how defensiveness is kind of anti-healing. So it prolongs the injury. And I think all couples, and we'll talk about this, or all couples experience defensiveness from time to time. Then we're going to talk about navigating the power imbalance, because the one down position is going to create an imbalance, and we'll talk about what that means. And then we'll talk about what it's like to move the relationship from the one down position back to a balanced position. So, and why that's important. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. And so I wanted to mention the workbook that we have called The Plan for Peace of Mind that many of our clients have used. We haven't really made it public, but it will be eventually. We have a store coming to our website that will be launched really soon. There's a few things that we just have to work out with our webmaster to get it up and running. But in the meantime, I've put a link in the description of the video. It should already be there to our email, where you can email us if you're interested in acquiring this workbook. And it will help you put together this one down position. It has the one down position kind of worked into it. And so do you real quickly just want to briefly mention like the point of the workbook, what we designed it to do and why we did it?
Yeah, well, we did it to try and create some order to the chaos that it can feel like when you've just discovered a betrayal. Right. And people are very, very lost. And we've seen that, with our clients anecdotally. But then when we, as part of our training as certified sex addiction therapists that specialize in helping individuals and couples recover from betrayals and secrets, we know that the individuals and couples that recover better are ones that have some kind of structure, that are educated about what this is like, so that they can kind of feel like they're just, as crazy as it feels, this is normal crazy. But then also put some parameters around so that people cannot get so lost and bogged down in it. We also know that, especially for couples that are coming with the intent of repairing their relationship or creating a new one, that we really want to give both people direction to help clarify the betrayed, to identify what they need, and to encourage the one who acted out to be acknowledging their role as a reassurer.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I would say that those are some of the main goals that we
Right.
have in that workshop. Or in that workbook. We did that just because, Josh, we realized we're doing the same things with people all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
We're like, we need to make this a organized step.
Right. And it was taking us weeks to put it together for
Yeah.
people. So we were like, let's kind of put the material into a workbook.
Right.
And anybody that's a partner that has been betrayed knows the intensity of the pain that comes with it, and the urgency that comes with trying to, or the desire to, take the pain, to get the pain to stop.
Yeah.
And and it, it kind of just would really eat at our hearts that people would, they'd call up wanting to get in, and then they got to wait weeks. And so it's like they get before us and like, when did you find out? And they're like 3-4 months ago, sometimes even more,
Right.
and they've just been waiting to get in, just kind of sitting in that pain. And so hopefully, like, we'll be able to, with the online store, we'll be able to get this out with some video courses that people can do, so that before they even get to us, they can already start building this plan to help, to help lessen the pain of it all, and so that was the idea. So that's the plan for peace of mind. Again, if you're interested in that, you are welcome to send us an email, and we will put somebody in contact with you so that we can get you a copy of that workbook.
Yeah. So how does that workbook kind of transition into what we're talking about today? How does it focus on the one down approach? What is the one down approach? We keep saying it. I think, though, it's a pretty clear in its name, right? Descriptor of what it is.
So, right. The one down approach is, like Carrie said, is just kind of what it sounds like.
Right.
But the question is who's taking the one down position,
There
right?
you go.
And this is, and that would be, the answer to that would be the person who committed the act of betrayal. And I believe I first read about the one down position from Shirley Glass, who is kind of, in my view, the one who really made major advances in treating infidelity.
And being directive about it, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but it's an intervention for healing, and it's has some objectives behind it that aren't probably what it feels like when you have to do it, but it is an intervention for healing, and it's hard. I feel like it's hard for the coupleship to heal if you bypass it.
I think
or if
so
you try
too.
to bypass
I think
it,
so
right?
Too.
Yeah. So to kind of get into what it is basically where the person who has betrayed their partner takes this one down position where they are there to kind of serve their partner in this compensatory type of way, making compensation, in other words, for the pain that they've caused, recognizing, acknowledging that pain, and basically being there for them in a very nurturing way to help them heal, so that they can have a balanced marriage eventually.
Right. Yeah.
So, in a way, it's really not the one down position that imbalances the power. It's the betrayal trauma. It's already imbalanced.
Right. It's already thrown them into that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you don't take the one down position, the table's already tipped over, right?
Right.
And things are all spilled out anyways, right?
Yeah.
We know that this is pretty clear in research that the couples who are able to do this do better, right? Because I think what it feels like intrinsically is, especially to the betrayed partner, is can my partner, my spouse, can they take ownership for what they did?
Right.
Right. And that is, I would say that is an absolutely essential piece, right? In a betrayed partner being able to envision and hope for some kind of rebuild of their relationship.
Right.
If you're trying to repair a betrayal and the person who did it is not owning up to it, saying, "Yep, that was it was all me. I shouldn't. If I did it, whatever," then you're going to be, stuck in what could be a very emotionally abusive relationship.
Right. And I think a way to kind of think of, what it is, maybe we can talk a little bit about what it's not.
Okay.
Like it's for the person who is taking the one down position. This is not becoming a doormat.
That's right. That's right.
Right. This is not, um, you know, the other person's saying jump and you say how high.
Right,
It's not.
right.
It's not a relationship like that. It's a healing effort.
That's right.
Part of it is a way of acknowledging the pain that I've caused, but it's also recognizing that your partner is in a lot of pain,
Yeah.
emotional pain. And so it's different from physical pain, right? Where it's easier to take these one down positions when someone that we love or we're helping is dealing with some kind of physical injury or illness, because you can see it manifesting physically.
Right.
And I'm not saying you can't on this. Sometimes you can.
Yeah, sometimes you
with
can.
betrayal trauma, but often you can't. And it's like there's no physical injury,
Right.
and so my brain doesn't register that I'm actually dealing with the emotional equivalent here. And then we just want to try to go back to
Everything
the way
being
things
the way it was
were.
before. Yeah.
And then to do the one down position makes me feel lesser than,
Yeah. Right.
and or like that, I'm being babysat, and that's not what it is.
That's not what it is. Right.
No, I often say like it's what it is good medicine.
Yes.
And would you withhold good medicine from your partner? And so, what would you say it's not to the partner? Like, because they
It's
also
not
have
becoming their jailer.
right.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
becoming their mom, their dad. And so as we work that through though, is how do you get the information, right? And how do we try to avoid you having this parental higher in a negative kind of way hierarchical
Right.
relationship, right? The point of this is not to distinguish someone bad from good, right? The point of this
Exactly, right.
is I have just experienced something that was a betrayal of our commitment and probably secret. So my system, right, as the betrayed person, my system is going to be absolutely intolerable and unable to tolerate any more secrets.
Right.
Anything semi murky is going to send my system into alert.
Right.
So I need transparency and clarity, right? And so if that means that I need the AI helping me with some of this stuff, if I need other trusted people, I need that so that I can have clear information so that my system doesn't have to be thrown back into that trauma of what could be going on that I don't completely know about, right? And so that can at times perhaps look on paper like, I'm the jailer, right?
Right.
I've got the
Yeah.
keys. And we're trying to avoid that emotional place instead of trying to help the person who's been betrayed actually take back some power, right?
Yeah. The thing that I would say I hear from the partners the most when it comes to their emotional dilemma with one down position, it's like I never wanted to be that partner that
Right.
kept tabs
Right.
on their husband or
Their wife,
right.
yeah.
I got to keep tabs.
I got to look at where their location
It
is.
just
I
feels
got to
icky,
check their email.
right?
I got to read their text messages. Right.
And and I will often reiterate to them too is that I know it feels like that, but it's not, keeping tabs. It's not about that at all, right? It's about healing. It's about and what I always say is no one likes to take their meds because when you're taking medicine, it reminds you you're healing from something, all right? You're trying to get better from something. And so it is hard for the partners to do this part of it too.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's where the plan for peace of mind comes in because if you're listening to this, you're probably wondering like, whoa, what does this look like? Like, what am I, what are the tangible things that we do in a one down position? And it's probably a lot of things that you've already thought about. Like, I want to see your phone. I want to have access to this. I want, I want to know things, and I can't trust my ears, but I can trust my eyes. So, you can tell me that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing all day long, and I don't believe it. And because of that, my imagination goes nuts with wondering what you are doing. And I always say, like, your imagination is very kind to you in those moments,
place,
right? And so you need to be able to present to me, to show me that you're doing what you said you're doing, that you are where you say you are, and things are in order. So when a partner asks to look at the phone, it's not like I'm not going through the phone with no end in sight, just kind of, going through it for hours on end. I'm really
Right,
looking
right.
to see if things are in order. When something's not, doesn't look like it's in order, I ask about it. We resolve that. And I call that, it's me when I'm working with the person who betrayed, is like your job is to make the data line up.
That's right. That's when I talk a lot about with my betrayed partners, right? Is the question always, right? How do I rebuild trust with consistent behavior over time when words and actions match? Well, you can only see what you see, so we need to get things in front of your eyeballs.
Right.
And then those words and actions can match up, right?
Right.
And that one down position looks like the person who sets new routines and situations to get the info, and it looks like the person taking the one down position being open and willing,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And that
Yeah.
is leaving the phone out without being asked, right?
Right.
Or taking the passcode off, or whatever these things are that are about, you're right. I am available to you,
Right.
right? I'm available to give you information that will be, important in your healing and peace of mind.
Right. So let's talk about the dangers of defensiveness on this, and we're particularly talking to the unfaithful partner
Right.
here, right? You're likely to get defensive because you're human, right? And
Yep.
it's this tug of war match of feeling like you're checking in your humanity, like you don't get to be human anymore,
Right.
and then the reality that you are human, and you're feeling that tug of war, and so it's real easy to get defensive, and
Yeah.
especially like feeling like I'm being accused of something that I didn't do, or things like I didn't mess up. I did what you asked, and yet I'm being treated as if I did.
Yeah.
And you really have to work hard at kind of diffusing that and
Yes.
regulating, because the reality is that your partner isn't responding to what you did or didn't do in that moment. Now
Right.
they could be, but
Probably they're not.
probably they're not. Like they're responding to that you did do something back then, and that has
Changed them.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's trickled into your current state of existence because your partner is very sensitive to touch right now. So even though you may have been telling the truth in that moment, they aren't going to believe you because it's not self-respect for them to believe it.
Right. Right.
And because you did something then, not now, right?
Right.
And
Right. And I think that what sometimes the language I'll use for the person who acted out is in your heart of hearts, right? So that kind of softening language of
yeah,
how can you respond to, in your heart of hearts, what's really going on with your partner? They're hurt about this lie, this betrayal,
yeah,
right? They may be saying, why is your phone battery dead? But they're not, the intensity of that isn't about this moment of the battery being dead, right?
right,
It's about that. So let's soften and slow it down. In your
Right.
heart of hearts, what's really going on with your partner when
Yeah.
they responded in that way,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's a way to help us process our defensiveness because you're not going to outrun your humanity and be like, oh, I'm never defensive, like, some kind of fabled version of humans,
Right.
right? Because probably, I mean, unless we're talking about somebody with a lot of complex mental health issues, they're probably doing their best to try and repair,
yeah,
right? They probably are. But you're up against something that you can't outrun with being honest today,
right,
right? You have
Yeah.
to be able to be willing to say, the dishonesty that
Yeah.
you've experienced has changed us. And so I'm willing to be one down and give you more information,
Right.
right? And it is challenging, but defensiveness is going to put the betrayed person in a state of trauma response, right? That
Right.
fight, flight, freeze, fawn response.
Right.
And that's not a place that either one of them want to be. You won't recover if you stay in that acute phase,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and I was wanting to make sure people understand that we are the one down position is something that is done at the very beginning of couple
Yes, we
recovery.
should have defined that. Yep.
Yeah, that, and so in other words, that if you're the one who is unfaithful, and and your partner is upset, and then we're talking about the very beginning stages of recovery, and you're experiencing those episodes of them being very sensitive to touch on things like you don't have a leg to stand on. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense for you to you have to jump through some hoops, and you have to acknowledge that they're in a lot of pain that you caused through your betrayal, through the infidelity. And even though that there might be some things that need to be addressed down the road, now's not the time, because
Yeah.
we've got to work at getting them healed.
Yeah.
That's why we're taking the one down. It's like, if my partner
Right.
was hit by a drunk driver, I think we talk about this in the workbook, was hit by a drunk driver and they're sent home on bed rest, and have a number of things that they have to do for their healing, like, taking their meds, going to doctor's appointments, physical therapy,
Rest,
rest. I'm not going to even, it's just going to come natural to us to not expect them to do the things that they normally would do in their contribution to the coupleship, right?
Right.
And I'm going to pick up a lot of slack, and where I can't pick up the slack, I'm going to have a plan for other people coming in and picking up the slack. And it's just like, no brainer. We have a plan.
We got to
We're
do
going to
it.
do it. I
Right.
would never expect them to do this, that, or the other. And then they have these emotional moments where they're feeling a lot of pain, and I'm not going to hold that against them.
Right.
And I'm not going to get defensive.
Right.
Because they're hurt and they're injured. And
Yeah.
now let's just say, they're mostly healed and they're still doing that. Now we got a problem, right?
Yeah. Right. So what's the time
Yeah.
frame, Josh? Do you tell people the time frame?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, I think Shirley Glass when she talked about the one down position, she talked like, a matter of like weeks, like, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
Like she was talking like 3 months at most type thing, if I remember correctly. The time frame I have in mind is a year.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't look
It's not the same from month 1 to month 12.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're still usually at the year mark. It's it's really time to start really talking about the fourth point, which we'll get to in just a second.
Yeah.
Is bringing people back up to
I think
balance.
Terry Hargrave in his book on forgiveness.
Forgiving the devil.
Forgiving the devil, right? He
Yeah.
talks about it's about 6 months to a year, and I
Okay.
think that's pretty accurate.
I would say so. Yes.
I think it depends sometimes on the people, but
Yeah.
I think the reason I like a time frame is because, especially because I work with so many partners, when they know, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be, and it's going to be about this long, their brain can kind
Right.
of settle in,
Yeah.
right? And I think for both people to know this is a temporary.
Right.
And that can sound very long, especially when you're hurting, right? Like when I
Right.
broke my foot and the doctor was like, oh, no, you won't run for a
Right.
year. And I'm like, a year? Right?
Right.
It's a year, right?
Yeah,
Because
right,
bones
right.
have to grow and
Yeah.
heal. There's something about time, and I just find that to be really important also in mental health. Things just take time. And
Right.
this one down position should be an attempt to acknowledge we are somewhere different. This
Right.
should not be, this is the new different.
Right.
Right.
I agree. I like the year mark because that gives you a full rotation of
Which
experiencing all
First
the
birthdays, first holidays.
right.
Yeah.
What we call all
this-
the firsts. Like what does the
Yeah.
first Thanksgiving look like post infidelity? What does
Yep. What does anniversary day look
anniversaries and
like? Yeah.
birthdays and all these things, or March?
Yeah.
What does March look like? I mean, it can be. It's just to get through the full rotation, and there's still some things that you can't really account for, like leap year, for example. That comes every 4 years. What does leap year look like post infidelity? But that kind of, I think, serves as a good marker, at least for me.
Right.
That's what I'm really paying attention to, is getting them through that first year.
And I think that feels pretty organic to most people.
Yeah, but you have your tolerance for your partner's pain has to increase dramatically.
Yeah.
Like, just because they accuse you of something you didn't do, that's not really worthy of defense. Now if they're calling you names and being in kind of crossing certain lines in a category that becomes abusive, that is not okay.
Right.
But that also gives the unfaithful party opportunities to learn how to be boundaried and to do it, especially to do it lovingly and compassionately.
Yeah.
Because you can do that. You don't have to be a jerk to set boundaries.
Oh, yeah. We need to talk about the power imbalance, which is
Yeah.
what this is, right? It's an acknowledged intentional power imbalance, right?
Yes. So one down, right? We're
Yep.
going, a step down. So I always kind of, even with my clients, kind of illustrate it with my hands.
Yeah,
even,
I do too, yeah.
And then just drop one hand down. And so
Right.
if you're listening to this, that's what I'm doing right now. My hands are even. one down, is dropping that one hand down. You're going to, basically saying, how can I help you?
Exactly.
What can I do to help with your healing?
Right.
I am here for you to lean on me,
That's
but
right.
I am not going to lean on you.
You say that all the time to clients.
I do,
I
all
know.
the time.
I quote you when I say it.
Yeah.
Like Josh always says.
Yeah, and it's important for them to remember, because it's like, is this you leaning on them? Like, it's hard. It's hard,
It is
because
hard,
guess
yeah.
what? When the person who's been unfaithful has been discovered, it kind of knocks them out of their trance, and they're feeling a lot of things too.
Yeah.
And I'll acknowledge that. It's like, I know you're hurting. I know you're scared. I know a lot of these things, but you're going to have to lean on your recovery community.
Right.
You're going to have to lean on me. You have me. You cannot lean on them.
Right.
Because especially in the beginning, a lot of partners will let them do it.
Yeah. Right. Because it's a very normal thing to find out about infidelity and think, oh, this means you want to leave, right?
Right.
And so you want to leave, but you're still begging me to, or leaning on me for you feeling sad, at least in the moments of temporary relief, right? So totally makes sense, right? Normal, to be
Right.
expected. But what it's not doing is it's not giving the person who was betrayed the space to actually feel all of their feelings, to create new boundaries, which is what's required if they're going to have a relationship. It's got to change the rules, right?
Right. Yeah. And so when it comes to navigating this, like this power imbalance, that's why creating a plan is so important.
Right,
And that's
right.
why we created the workbook, to
Right.
help people create these plans, because what they usually try doing in the beginning is they just try, the person who's unfaithful, just they try trial and error, because they'll ask their partner, like,
Right.
what do you want?
Right.
What can I do to help?
Right.
And they don't know, right?
They often don't know.
And also
Sure.
too, it's kind of an insult, like I'm not gonna help you
I
with
hear
this,
that all the time, right? Figure it out.
Figure it
Be a
out,
grown
dude.
up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, trial. What I always say is, like, we don't want the unfaithful partner using trial and error, because most of the time trial and error ends in error. Because what you're doing right now basically is out of the ordinary, and
Right.
they don't want surprises.
Right.
Right? Surprises aren't good for them
Right.
right now.
Right.
So, but then how do I do the one down position if I don't know what they want?
Right.
Right? And that's why we have the workbook.
That's why we have the order.
Because
yeah.
you do need to write it down. You need to do what they have asked you to do. And partners listening to this, you really need to work with your therapist or with your recovery community to say, this is what I think. And it doesn't mean you can't change it or add
not.
to
Right,
it,
right,
right?
sure.
This is what I think that would be the most helpful for me in my recovery.
Yep. Yep. And I think though that idea of, I kind of thinking of like basketball players, right? For the acting out partner, you got to be agile. You got to twist and pivot and take steps back, and you got to move. Like if they say, I want you to come straight home, don't stop and get anything, then you do that. Now, if the next day it's, why don't you ever stop and get me something? Then you stop and get something. Now, we're
Right.
not talking at an abusive level of someone playing mind games with you to get you to never know what to do.
Right.
But giving yourself permission to say, I'm asking, they're saying this would be helpful, I execute. If they change, I change.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
And I think that if you can add that dynamic piece to kind of the order of this, I think it helps avoid resentment,
Right.
which is the big killer of this one down position for both people.
Right.
But it's very easy for the person who, is trying to do their best to say, well, I thought you said you wanted me to come straight home,
Yeah.
right? Well, I did last week.
Yeah.
Now I've changed my mind, right? And giving this
or-
person the benefit of the doubt that their mind changing is not an attempt to ruin you, right? Because that's where resentment will just blow up and grow, right?
Right.
It's the idea that their needs are changing, right? And so I think this is also where having a therapist and having a recovery community that can add that perspective and that encouragement is really, really, really helpful.
Yeah. And the thing to remember, like if you're the unfaithful partner, following through with what they're asking you to do for healing does not mean you get a warm, fuzzy response.
No.
Right? Like
sure,
think about from an injury perspective.
Right.
Do you think the physical therapists working with people that have been hit by drunk drivers are getting a bunch of
No, everyone hates
thanks
their
you,
PTs.
this was so great.
Right.
No, it's hard. It hurts. The recovery part hurts. And so even when you're doing what they've asked you to do, like you often are going to get
Nothing.
not a favorable.
No.
At minimum, you might get a a thanks.
Maybe.
Maybe, but
Right.
that's I think the most you should
Well,
expect
I
at
always
most.
wish that the IRS would send me a thanks so much for paying me on time gold sticker,
Yeah,
right? No,
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
absence of a penalty
yeah.
is all you get,
Right. But
right?
most, I think what's reasonably expected is you're going to get some version of varying degrees of this really sucks,
Yeah,
especially in the beginning.
sure.
Now, over time, when healing is taking
When the
place,
consistency of
just
the
like in physical
behavior,
therapy,
right,
like, oh, I'm able to do this better, and I'm not experiencing the same pain
right,
with it. And that you might get a pat on the back, a thank you, that was helpful, or
right,
that was, I appreciate you being
right.
considerate.
I like this new routine.
Right.
I like you
But I
coming
still,
straight home.
but
Yeah.
I still don't think you should expect it.
No, I don't either. And I think
Right.
that's, and again, but to normalize this doesn't mean
Right.
that you're going into a relationship where your efforts are never acknowledged.
Yeah.
It means we're entering a temporary space where you have to be willing to do and not. You have to kind of look again, at the core of this, Josh, right, is a lot of having to look at something bigger than you, right? Doing the right thing is always the right thing,
Right.
right?
Yeah, of course.
And how do you find kind of that maybe internal peace of mind too, right? That
Right.
I did the right thing. I met the need, whether
Yeah.
I got the high five or a
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Part of what I'm working on with the unfaithful partner is um, because often this is happening in a codependent type relationship, right? Is
Sometimes.
I'm helping them, you know, learn to be okay with themselves, even when my partner isn't okay with me.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and that's really important because as hard as it is for the partner to see the unfaithful partner getting better, they know that they're not going to be able to trust somebody who doesn't have the ability to regulate their feelings about
That's right.
themselves,
That's right.
right? It'd be too
Absolutely.
dangerous. So they really do need to see their partner forgiving themselves,
Yeah.
which is really an emotional dilemma.
That I always phrase it to the betrayed partners as, well, why would I ask you to forgive someone who hasn't forgiven themselves? Right.
Hmm.
So that's a dilemma on both parts.
Right.
But when we can acknowledge that these are all the power dynamics that are shifting, and we can help people organize them and see that there is an order,
Right.
which means there is change that will happen, I think it takes the fear,
Right.
right, so much out of it.
Yeah. So now we're going to move into moving people back into
Into-
the balance position, which is it's another milestone. I think most clients that we worked with will be able to identify this point, right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah. We do as therapists.
Oh,
We
yeah.
recognize when it's happening.
yeah, and I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel it too. Like I feel like the nervousness of it, because this is the relationship gets put to the test again
Yeah, it does.
here.
And it can bring back
Yeah.
feelings for both people, like, oh gosh, the language is, oh my gosh, I feel like we're at the beginning again. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you've experienced something that it creates the type of injury and wound that a betrayal trauma does, like you feel like that person really does kind of owe you the world, and but for them to get better, they have to realize for themselves first, before their partners do, that this isn't a life sentence for me, and
Right.
I do need to spend a good amount of time. Like I said, there's a whole year of really, tending to them and helping with their
Right.
healing and acknowledging this pain that I've caused. But eventually, I have to, kind of establish some that it's time for me to be more of a partner and less of a doctor or a nurse or any type,
Care
that's a
provider.
care provider, or a nurturer. I'm not saying you can't be nurturing. In fact, you're not really giving those up. You're just adding in this element
Yeah.
of, I'm now asking you to lean on me too. Now we
Yeah.
got to start leaning on each other.
Yeah,
Like,
well, now we can lean on.
right.
Right.
And it's like, and you got to go through that how dare you moment with your partner of, don't you remember what you did? Don't you remember the pain you've caused? And it is, again, like it doesn't feel right to them
Yeah.
to say, yeah, I need to start telling you how you, or something that you're doing bothers me, or something I differ in opinion on from you. knowing that I did this horrible thing to you that really hurt you.
Yeah.
And I got to ask for things now
Yeah.
and
But
have
if you,
boundaries.
right, but if
and-
you don't, you're extending into now that, relationship of too much dependence, right? So
Right.
if
You're
you've
prolonging a
been,
problem
yeah,
that-
if you've
that
been,
created it.
been the jailer, right,
Yeah.
or been the parent, now you're perpetually there as the jailer or the parent, or in a relationship with your jailer and your parent. And
Yeah.
I always tell my clients it's not sexy, right? At minimum,
Right.
it's not safe. So instead, it's about both people recognizing that that one down position is temporary, it has a job, but when its job is done, right? And we let it do its job, now we can shift back in. And I would say, Josh, you showed your hands, right? So we've got the one down is, one hand higher than the other. And I would say it's not just here. I will say it's like they both have to rise a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Now
Oh,
we have
yeah.
to raise and change our expectations,
Sure.
our rules. Probably the couples that recover, I always tell them, like, I have the gift of seeing clients that are hurt and wounded, but also they have better communication. Their connection is more authentic, right? Because authenticity is encapsulates our strengths and our flaws. And so I do think that they can rise to that occasion. So both of them are in their own internal, I guess, striving for integrity. And
Yeah.
that's what also that one down, shifting out of that one down position starts
Yeah.
to become, right?
Yeah. So I think you would agree with me that the shift is kind of happening along the way. So when we talk about the
It
one
is.
down position over the course of time, it's
Right.
not like you're in the same
Right.
starting point and then we shift up.
It's not a gear shift from
Right.
this to that, right?
But I would say like the final one, like the let me say it this way, the rebalancing of the relationship, that also isn't like a moment, a thing that happens in a moment's time. That is a process too. Would you
Yes,
agree? Like
of course.
finding your flow in the balance in rebalancing this relationship.
Right.
It's like I guess like trying to balance on the teeter totter, right? And like how do I need to position myself? And we keep going up and down. And it's
and moving a
frustrating
little,
until
yeah.
we can really find how to keep balance. But no one's really ever being completely still.
No, I don't think so.
Right.
But I think really that's probably all of dynamics if you really think about it.
Yeah. I just
Right.
think
But it's more extreme, of course,
yeah,
after.
it's particularly sensitive to the touch, right?
It is. It is. But yeah, I think it's throughout this, time frame of we're adjusting, right? But I think that clients will talk to me about moments, and we'll see it sometimes in sessions, right? Where we're like, "Oh, look at him, look at her."
Right.
They're just saying I'm not doing that. And,
Oh, yeah.
Right. And we'll see it. And
Yeah.
our gift, our privilege is that we can reframe it as, oh, look at this. I see the shift in the power dynamics. And what if this reflects growth? Right.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that's the one down position in a nutshell. I think we did do a YouTube video on it. You're welcome to go listen to a shorter version of what we just talked about to kind of as a good refresher. But the plan for peace of mind is designed to help create this this intervention, or it utilizes this intervention in a way that creates a plan.
Yep.
So it's kind of the other way around. We're taking the one down position and making a plan out of it.
Yeah.
So that we can minimize pain. It doesn't take away the pain, right?
No.
It's more like a painkiller in a sense. Like when I take a painkiller, I still can feel like my back hurting a little bit, but it helps, right?
Yeah.
It makes life more functional.
Yeah.
It makes me more functional in life,
I think That's a good word for it. Yeah.
Knocked that one out.
No, I know. On to the next, right?
So, right. But we appreciate everybody being here that's tuned in. Please, again, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share, all the things that you're supposed to do on whatever platform you're listening to this. And that really helps us and it really supports the content that we're putting out there. So we appreciate you.